How's it going, everyone? It's Nerdgasm. A few weeks ago, I looked at the Batman '89 comic series, and I thought it would only be fitting to move on to Superman '78. Just like with Batman '89, Superman '78 was an attempt at telling an entirely new story, a continuation of an established universe within a series of live-action superhero films. In this case, the Richard Donner-directed Superman movies, starring Christopher Reeve. Written by Robert Venditti with art by Wilfred Torres, and in the end made as a dedication to Richard Donner, who passed away a few months into the series' run, the story of Superman '78 takes place after the events of Superman 1 and Superman 2, and completely ignores everything in the following sequels and soft reboot, so Superman 3, Superman 4 The Quest for Peace, and Superman Returns, if you count it as being part of the timeline. Superman '78 introduces Brainiac into this universe, who was the villain Donner would have included in a third Superman movie if he had remained on the project. Brainiac was also featured in early drafts of the film after Donner had been removed from it, but due to budgetary concerns, the producers and Warner Brothers would go in a different direction, a much more mundane direction with Superman 3's story. It still had technology in it, but the villain was nowhere near as interesting. He was just a copy of Lex Luthor with a different name. The story of Superman '78 opens on Krypton, shortly after Jor-El and his wife Lara had sent their infant son Kal rocketing to Earth in his spacecraft. A large explosion happens, much like we had seen in the original film, signifying the end of their planet. However, we continue to follow the couple, as Jor-El believes something does not feel quite right. We then see a mysterious alien spacecraft among the floating debris of Krypton, stating that the Kryptonians had sealed their planet's fate, and that the era of their dangerous civilization was over. 30-some-odd years later, Metropolis is attacked by a strange robot from outer space. As it destroys its surroundings and endangers the lives of many civilians, it performs an analysis on everything it comes in contact with and observes, sending the data back to its mothership. Superman arrives and begins fighting the robot, which is durable enough to withstand his powers. It even manages to injure Superman with some sort of electrical energy beam. Our Man of Steel puts up a fight though, delivering several direct blows to it and eventually removes its head. It speaks of something or someone called Brainiac, which puzzles Superman. Lex Luthor had recently been released from prison on parole, and Superman, who has been tasked with watching over him, goes to meet him at his apartment. In a great twist that defies expectations, Superman asks his arch-nemesis for assistance in figuring out who or what Brainiac is. I couldn't help but read Luthor's lines in Gene Hackman's voice, especially the smart-ass insults. He was perfectly cast in those original movies. Anyways, Superman gives Luthor the robot head to study, and after the hero leaves, we see that Lex has a hidden lab behind one of the apartment's walls, probably made of lead or something. Inside, there are references to his iconic battlesuit, as well as what appears to be Bizarro in some sort of cryogenic container. We then cut to the mothership of said Brainiac, a highly intelligent extraterrestrial being who transfers his consciousness into advanced and upgraded robot bodies. Much like Superman, he is the last of his kind, from the planet Kalu. Brainiac views himself as a preserver and cataloger of all life. He uses his ship's technology to shrink and collect cities of destroyed planets from across the universe, housing them inside special bottles to preserve their knowledge and ecosystems. The capital city of Krypton, Kandor, and its people are among them. I find Brainiac's motivations in this comic to be really interesting. After learning the last surviving, or more accurately free, Kryptonian is on Earth, he makes it his mission to find Superman and add him to his collection. Furthermore, when Brainiac arrives on Earth, his ultimate goal is to save the planet, save the human race, by eliminating what he believes to be the invasive species among them that poses a threat to their very existence. Superman would battle a group of Brainiac's robots dispatched to capture him, even throwing another cellophane S at them. Amazing. But after Brainiac threatens to destroy Metropolis to stop the so-called Kryptonian infestation from spreading, from breeding, Superman is forced to surrender, not wanting humanity to suffer because of him. The Man of Steel allows himself to be captured by Brainiac and his robots, and is taken to the mothership. I love this. Lex Luthor shows up and gives his kind regards to Superman, also congratulating Brainiac on his victory over him. On the mothership, Brainiac shrinks Superman down and places him within the bottled city of Kandor. Kal-El meets his biological parents face to face for the first time, which is incredibly powerful. Though they had been given the gift of life by Brainiac, they were also robbed of time they could have had with their son. Heartbreaking. Back on Earth at the Daily Planet, Lois Lane is sent a note from someone telling her that they know where Superman is, and to meet them in the warehouse district, to come alone. There, she is sedated and taken somewhere else. When she awakens, she finds herself in one of Lex Luthor's labs. Luthor proclaims that he is the most devious criminal mind in the universe, not Brainiac, and promises to get Superman back. Deep down, he wants to be the one to defeat him. When he had said his disingenuous goodbyes to the Man of Steel, Luthor had subtly placed a receiver on Superman's cape, using a special machine of his own design, equipped with satellites. He can send a message from Earth to Brainiac's ship, using the alpha waves in Superman's brain. Lois is the one to speak to him, but rather quickly, Brainiac detects the outside transmission. As a result, he returns to Earth to punish Metropolis for challenging his intelligence and endangering themselves by contacting Superman. Using his skull ship, like a surgeon, he cuts out the tumor that is Metropolis from the rest of the planet and begins slowly lifting it up towards his ship so it can be shrunk down and bottled. Jor-El finds Luthor's receiver on his son's costume, and through some science-y bullshit, believes he can create a subspace link between Superman's mind and the miniaturization computer of Brainiac's ship outside of their bottle prison, and reverse the shrinking process to return Kal-El to his normal size. In all seriousness, though, it's touching seeing Superman's parents trying to save their son a second time, bidding him farewell much like they did all those years ago on Krypton. How selfless. Jor-El had lost all hope, trapped inside the bottle. He had grown frustrated that he couldn't save his people and find a way out for them. But his son brought hope back to the Kryptonian survivors, just like he brings hope to all of humanity on Earth. Jor-El and Lara are proud of the man and hero their son has become. Superman promises to save both Metropolis and Kandor. Jor-El has difficulty expressing his feelings to his son. He says it's because he's never been good with words. I think it's because he just needs someone off screen holding his cue cards. Wearing a special headband that will amplify his alpha waves, Superman steps into floating rings similar to the ones that had imprisoned General Zod, Ursa, and Non when they stood trial in the movies. In what looks to be an immensely painful process, Superman is returned to regular size and regains his powers from the yellow sun in our solar system. He faces off with Brainiac and his robots, and his fellow Kryptonians watch on from inside of their bottle, a neat perspective. Superman defeats the robots and, using his X-ray vision, begins searching for Brainiac, who had fled the battle. He demands that the villain release every city trapped in his twisted collection, but is ambushed and attacked by Brainiac inside of a giant robotic suit. As Superman and Brainiac fight, the Man of Steel tries to reason with him. He tries to make Brainiac realize that he has been using science as a weapon, not as a tool to watch and observe, to give things the chance to grow and evolve naturally. Brainiac may have given up on that, given up on others, but Superman never will. He will never lose hope. Brainiac's armor begins to short-circuit, and Superman gives him a chance to save himself, but the villain refuses to take it. Superman retrieves all of the bottled cities on Brainiac's ship as a self-destruct sequence is initiated. Brainiac's consciousness manages to transfer itself into a new robot body, but he and all of his backup models are destroyed in the explosion. With Brainiac's ship and technology out of the equation, Metropolis, still rising into the air, begins plummeting to the earth below like a meteor, kind of like what happened to the capital city of Sokovia in Avengers Age of Ultron. Superman is able to catch it in time and return it to its original location, using every ounce of strength he has. At the Fortress of Solitude, Superman apologizes to all of the shrunken civilizations because he has not yet found a way to return them to their regular size, but promises them that he will never stop looking. Kandor and the rest of the cities forgive him because at least now they have hope. Just like Batman 89, Superman 78 is a very faithful continuation of the series of films it's based on. A lot of the visuals we see here are callbacks to moments from those original movies, and character likenesses try to match those of the actors and actresses in the films as best they can to avoid any potential legal issues. When Metropolis is first lifted into the sky, we see a man who appears to be Gus Gorman from Superman 3, played by Richard Pryor in the film. There are also a few Easter eggs referencing other projects directed by Richard Donner, like The Goonies. They make an appearance here, which is fucking awesome. Goonies never say die. The artwork by Wilfred Torres is great and makes the story of Superman 78 feel very authentic, part of that same universe as those first two Superman movies. I consider it to be the third film, because after Superman 2, things got really inconsistent, downright bad with this franchise. Superman 78 is a bit on the shorter side compared to Batman 89, feels like the first part of a larger story, and its themes aren't as layered either, but I have to say, I found it to be the more satisfying read when everything was said and done. I don't know, it was just more entertaining. The ending was definitely better, not as disorganized as Batman 89's was. Superman 78 does feel like a part 1 though, and hopefully Robert Venditti can come back with a sequel at some point. Supposedly he's working on one. I'd like to see Lex return since he fled Metropolis in that hot air balloon when shit went sideways, setting up a future appearance for him down the road. Early treatments of Superman 3 had also included Mr. Mxyzptlk and Supergirl in them, so introducing them, especially Mxyzptlk, into this universe would be neat to see. But I'd like to hear your thoughts on all of this, as well as your thoughts on the Superman 78 story in general. Did you like it? Could it have done more? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments below. I want to thank you all for watching my latest comic review, and if you enjoyed it, think about supporting the channel by subscribing, hitting that bell icon for notifications, or by becoming a producer for my videos over on patreon.com, and nominating future comics for me to talk about. I will see you all in the next one. Take care, stay safe, and always stay nerdy.